And I just have a couple of housekeeping notes. Please note that the information in this presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. See a licensed and qualified medical professional for your medical needs. Our information is intended to empower patients, their families, and healthcare professionals who want to collaborate in the most effective ways on this challenging journey to health and well-being. So thank you for joining us this afternoon for our introduction to brain health. I'd like to welcome and introduce our speakers, Myra Oney and Nancy Weiser. Myra is an integrative nutrition health coach and Reiki master teacher. Nancy is a board certified health and wellness coach and co-founder of Weiser Choices. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box and we'll answer them during the Q&A at the end of the presentation. And Myra, I believe you are our first speaker.
Okay. Well, thank you all for being here today. I understand we have a record number of people registered for the presentation, which makes me so incredibly happy because it means that more and more the word is getting out that there is something that you can do about brain health and memory loss. It's absolutely within your power to do it. And I wanted to start out, so we can go to the first slide. I wanted to start out today by just giving you some statistics. All right, well, what you're going to hear about today is you're going to hear about who we are, who Sharp Again Naturally is, and why we do what we do. We're going to talk a little bit about what is normal aging. What does that mean to age normally as opposed to having memory loss you need to be concerned about? We're going to talk about some of the causes of memory loss, and most specifically about things that you can actually do to start helping yourself today. So I wanted to give you a few statistics to kind of give you an idea about how this organization got started 10 years ago. The Alzheimer's Association, I'm actually going to read this so I get it right. Their most recent report says that currently there are 6 million Americans who are afflicted with Alzheimer's disease and memory loss. 55 million people worldwide are currently afflicted. This is projected to go up to 78 million by 2030 and 139 million by 2050. During the pandemic, the related deaths related to Alzheimer's and dementia actually increased by 16%. There's a cost of $355 billion annually in the US to care for and treat people with Alzheimer's and dementia. By 2050, that was probably going to go up to $1 trillion. Approximately 11 million people provide unpaid care to people with Alzheimer's and dementia. And something that is now being understood is that discrimination is a barrier for people to receive this kind of information and to actually be treated for Alzheimer's and dementia. I wanted to bring this up because I recently read a report that said that dementia has actually been falling. The incidence of dementia has actually been falling over the last decades. Those statistics actually come from studies of basically white Western Europeans. So, but the incidence, especially among the Black population, is very, very high and keeps rising. So it is statistics like this, but 10 years ago, that caused, I should say not caused, but inspired our co-founders, Lisa Feiner and Jackie Bishop, to begin Sharp Again Naturally, because they wanted to, as their mission states, create an organization that educates, empowers, and supports everyone to take an active role in optimizing their cognitive health using a scientifically based multi-therapeutic approach. And I will say that 10 years ago, this was radical. And it's wonderful that the tipping point is now such that we have so many people on this webinar and that the medical establishment is starting to understand this and act on it. We have a vision where dementia can be prevented, treated, and reversed, and where everyone has the ability to remain cognitively healthy throughout their lives. That's what we want for everyone. So what is normal aging? Well, one of the things normal aging is not is dementia. Dementia is not a part of normal aging. And the CDC has recognized this. That didn't used to be what we thought. So what is normal aging? Well, believe it or not, your memory processing starts to begin to slow down at the age of 30. Normal aging includes being simply forgetful. It means that you're not any more forgetful now. You're not noticing it any more than you ever did in the past. You may have a delay or slowing in recalling names, dates, and events, but usually those will all come back to you pretty quickly. You might have trouble finding words in a conversation. You say it's on the tip of my tongue. Once again, usually whatever that word is will come back to you fairly quickly. You may find that you're a little bit slower in processing information. For instance, if you're trying to learn something new or you're trying to problem solve, it might take you a little bit longer than it used to, but you're still capable of doing it. And you might be challenged with multitasking, which frankly, multitasking really hardly anybody is good at, because it's really at any age, staying focused on a task is the way that you're going to get it done. So what is not normal aging? Normal aging is things that they're things that disrupt your daily life. They're things that you notice that are actually causing a change in how you live your life every day. So it's things like regularly forgetting appointments or conversations that, if you knew at 10 a.m. that you had an appointment at 3, but you forgot about it, you might want to watch out about how often that's happening. Regularly misplacing items. Multiple times during the day, you can't find things. You really have a lot of trouble focusing on conversations and tasks. You often forget the names of family and friends and family members. And it's not things like myself. Sometimes I'll call my husband by my dog's name, but then I remember right away that, oh no, this is different. But this is when it happens often. You may be struggling to complete tasks that you are used to doing, such as balancing your checkbook. Or if you've never been good at balancing your checkbook, maybe you are not paying your bills regularly. You find your bills are stacking up because you're just forgetting to pay them. You may have issues shopping, getting lost in the grocery store, and driving, especially if you discover that you are driving somewhere and you forget where you're going or how to get there, if it's someplace that you go to normally. So basically what we're saying is this is memory problems that interfere with your daily life. Things that are coming up for you over and over again, that you find yourself maybe not going out or not going shopping because you are having memory issues. And this is a great example here. For example, forgetting where you put your glasses versus forgetting what your glasses are for. That's a really great example. So back 10 years ago, and way long before that, and still now, there's been a lot of stigma around memory loss. And the conversation used to be with your doctor. If your doctor diagnosed you with memory loss, Alzheimer's, or dementia, they'd say, you know what, there's nothing we can do. You need to go home and get your affairs in order. Or most recently, there are 2 or 3 medications that we can prescribe for you. They may or may not work, and probably they will stop working at some point. So basically, there was not much hope. And this diagnosis led to people living in fear, fear of what might happen, fear of what was going to happen with their families, fear of just fear, and a lot of denial. Denying that this could possibly be so, and I'm just going to forget about it, not pay attention to it, wishing it away, and mostly hiding it away, hiding from people, hiding from your family, your loved ones, coming up with coping strategies to help you, overcome certain memory issues. It used to be like that, and it doesn't need to be like that anymore. And now people are understanding that. So yes, we're changing the way we view memory loss, because today there is hope. First of all, we're living longer. So we have a real vested interest in making sure that those extra years that we're living are healthy and that we have a good memory. We're also understanding more and more and more and more the absolute importance of prevention. Prevention is extremely important. We're going to be talking more about that today. And the earlier that you begin taking steps to prevent memory loss, the less likely it is you will experience it. And we know many of the causes of memory loss today, and we know that they are lifestyle related. We also know that there is a way that you can slow its progression and sometimes even reverse it.
So I'm going to pick up here. Does anyone hear? I hear a reverberation. All right, good. So when to seek help? The earlier, the better. So there's actually 4 stages of progressive cognitive impairment, and I'll just go through those so you can maybe recognize those if they were to happen or if they're happening in someone who you know. The first is subjective cognitive impairment. And this subjective is exactly what it says it means. It means that you know that something is not quite right and something is changed, right? Something is different from before. So that would be that. The next level is mild cognitive impairment, when you have clear symptoms, but you're still functional. So this is kind of the stage that Myra was referring to, where you can hide it, you can kind of pretend it's not there, and you can try to come up with coping mechanisms, things like talk arounds. Like, I know someone who said they were describing something and they talked about that piece of furniture, and it was the desk. They didn't know the word for desk. So that kind of thing. Moderate cognitive impairment is where you start to have difficulty with daily tasks. And now it becomes more obvious both to you and to the people who are around you, like your family. So things like getting dressed by yourself, self-care and personal care, bathing, etc., preparing food, paying bills. Oftentimes a spouse will say, I didn't realize it, but he or she had let the bills pile up for 3 months. And then the last stage is severe cognitive impairment, where the person needs constant supervision. They may wander off. You've heard about people wandering off and showing up in a completely different place from where they lived, and not knowing how they had gotten there. So those are the stages, and you want to kind of get this really early on, when it's just you who notices that something's not right, beyond the symptoms or the kinds of things Myra was talking about that happen in normal aging. So next, we do this slide a lot when we do presentations, and it's one of my favorites because I like to say that if you're on this call today and if you're on the planet Earth, the odds are actually good that you're going to live till over 100, believe it or not, because medicine has the medications, the pills, and the surgery to kind of keep most of us going, if we're somewhat fortunate enough, really to that point. But what happens starting around, as Myra said, at 30, 40, but certainly by 60, is there becomes this gap between the green line, right, where typically health declines slowly and then rapidly, versus increased health span. So health span and lifespan are the lifespan is the green line, the health span is the red line. We want to really push the health span out to as long as we live. So on the day we leave, we are with our full cognition and able to, cook ourselves dinner and that night and enjoy a nice conversation with somebody, hopefully when we're 104. So we want to we're working together, hopefully with you, to close that gap so that these lines become one, where you don't have this precipitous decline in health, including cognition, before you're gone. That's the goal. Okay, so next, these are the sharp again naturally. We have 10, I see 6, but we'll go with 6 for now. The sharp again naturally, what we call our 10 causes of memory loss. And I will say that you're going to see within this that there are really many more. And at this point, there have been identified something more close to 50 than there are 10. But this works nicely to say 10. And if you got these 10, you'll be in good shape. The first is nutritional imbalances. So we like to talk about this. A lot of the material that's covered in our webinars and our small group programs is around nutritional imbalances. getting those identified, eating a traditionally balanced diet, but then also kind of maybe digging a little deeper, getting some blood work done to find out if you're deficient in certain types of nutrients that can be affecting your brain health. B12 is one, for example. The gut microbiome is this whole, it's a universe of little microbes that live inside our intestine. And there's more in there than there are, you know, people on the earth, and there's just trillions of them in there. And the idea would be, if everything is functioning smoothly, that you would have a good, what's called a good ratio of the different types of bacteria that there are to keep you healthy, including your brain. You know, one good barometer with this is to check in with your digestion. Is that healthy, normal, and regular? You know, if not, it could be a sign that there are other things kind of going on. Toxins in food, water, air, work, and home. So we dive into this a lot, and a lot of the toxins that we're most exposed to are actually in the home and in our surroundings all the time. So it's not so easy for us to address, us as individuals, to address, you know, the quality of the air outside if you live in the city. That's not so easy to do. However, the air quality in your home is affected by things like perfumes, air fresheners, personal care products that you use, non-stick pans, which are okay until you heat them up, and then they emit all kinds of fumes that are highly toxic. The effects of, number 3, the effects of prescription drugs and other medications. There actually are some drugs that are prescribed that you should look at very carefully, because they can add to or actually cause memory issues. Some of them might be helping you in some ways, but they're actually, over a long period of time, can affect your memory, and you just want to be really educated around that. Heavy metal toxicity. This refers to things, again, in our bodies, and for most people over a certain age who had mercury amalgams, or what they called silver fillings in your mouth, those can off-gas and cause a kind of toxicity that can be very detrimental to your brain, your capacity to think clearly, and your cognition. Hormonal imbalances. So this, again, is a thing to get sort of educated about on a deeper level. For example, the standard thyroid panel that's done by your doctor might include 3 or 4 standardized tests, when there are really between 6 and 8 that can give you a deeper picture of what's going on just with your thyroid. And then there's a whole host of other hormones as well that can be tested for, to see if you're having some kind of, you know, an issue there. Low-level infections. So these are things like oral infections that can come from root canals, believe it or not. Lyme disease, sometimes you might know you have it, and sometimes you might not. You didn't have the traditional bullseye or, you know, red bite from a tick, or a tick stuck in your shoulder, and you may not know you may have had Lyme for a long time. And again, there's a lot of levels of testing that can be done for that. Mold can be occurring in your house without you knowing it. And then things like food and urinary tract infections left untreated. So we want to be looking at a whole host of things, which over time, even a sinusitis kind of a situation, can be in your system for years. And that can be a challenge for maintaining adequate, completely normal cognition. Inadequate, and here's where we do some lumping. These are obviously 3 different things, but inadequate physical activity, mental stimulation, and social interaction. You know, what are you doing to keep in shape? Are you doing it on a regular basis? So we've clumped these 3 together, but they are 3 completely separate things. And again, if you're hitting all these buttons here, then you're going to have a very good chance of protecting your cognition for the long term. So prolonged stress. This is completely different from a short-term crisis, right? So something, you know, I have a flood in my basement from Hurricane Ida. Yeah, that's stressful. That's no fun. But by the time, you know, I get it cleaned up and like I'm on with my life. Prolonged stress is things like long-term financial stress, being in what we call a toxic relationship. You probably know what those are. Working for, you know, a nasty boss at work, and this goes on for years and decades at a time. This kind of stress changes our whole biochemistry. It's hard on the adrenal glands. It's hard on what's called the cortisol on and off switch, which should be reserved for, you know, literally running for your life from a bear. Sleep and breathing problems. If you have a spouse or a partner, they may have alerted you to the fact that you snore, or they may not have because they're busy snoring too. So addressing these is very important. Do you need a CPAP machine? What are you going to do around this? Because breathing through your mouth is really detrimental to your brain. You want to make sure that you're nose breathing. Physical and emotional trauma. So this could include things like a long ago TBI, a traumatic brain injury. What else? An unresolved adverse childhood event, what are now referred to as an acronym is the ACEs. So if you things going on from childhood that you haven't looked at, maybe, with some help, those things can kind of brew and stir over a long period of time. Okay, so this is where, Myra referred to the fact that there's help, and it is a fact, and there is hope. So I want to go into a little bit about what we can all do now. And I'm going to, this is an introduction, remember. So I'm going to just give you a few pointers about what you can do now to start to address laying a foundation for a lifetime of completely awesome cognitive health from wherever you are now till you're over 100. And if you're over 100, we'll give you 2 year, whatever, 110. Okay. So what we can all do now is eat whole unprocessed food and less sugar. What does that mean? So unprocessed foods are things, your great grandmother knew about. So things like what? Carrot, eggs, right? Steak and chicken, not things that have, like Go-Gurt and I don't know what else, things that didn't exist 150 years ago. And when I, as a health coach, and I've been one for 17 years, as a health coach, when I talk about sugar, I'm talking about everything that turns into sugar in my blood. So that is every kind of processed flour kind of food that you would eat. So everything in that category, any kind of baked good, right? Bagels, cookies, muffins, on and on and on. It's not just sugar. So anything that turns quickly to sugar in your blood will put you on a kind of sugar roller coaster that is not helpful to your brain or to your energy level or to your digestion. So hydrate, rule of thumb. And remember, this is a rule of thumb. This can differ for a lot of reasons. Roughly half your weight in ounces of water a day. So if you weigh 120 pounds, 60 ounces, that's about 7.5 cups of water. And normally the questions that follow on to this one are like, does coffee count? The answer is no. Does juice count? No, again, it's water. You can put some lemon in there. That one I'll count. Fasting, you've heard of intermittent fasting. So this is sort of what it means. It's fasting at least 12 hours nightly. So 7 to 7, 8 to 8, 6 to 6. You want to also finish your last bit of food at least 3 hours before you go to sleep, because that will affect your sleep, and your sleep affects your cognition. So everything here is related. Even the exercise piece, which I haven't really talked about, but exercise also helps with sleep. So the exercising is not for calorie burn, it's for sleep, and then you'll burn more calories. Everything is really so interconnected. That's why I love doing this, okay? So that's a little bit about the fasting. Avoid toxins and chemicals. I mentioned some of those already in your environment and especially at home. Get breathing issues treated. So this may not be something that you're thinking about unless you have a really severe case of sleep apnea. Start with your dentist, and then you may have to be referred to what's called an airway specialist, because that's something new, I think, to be thinking about for most people. Aerobic exercise, balance and strength training. I like to think of this as a tripod. So aerobic exercise, and then strength training, those are two things you know about. And then this flexibility and balance piece, which comes from things like yoga, which can also incorporate some breath work. So again, it all works together. What else can we do now? And more. Challenge your brain. So there is an app you can get, or something you can sign up for on your computer that is called Brain HQ. I actually just signed up for it. They had a special over Christmas. And that's a little exercise that you can do. And it's 30 or 60 or 90 minutes a week, and you get to different levels. It's challenging. It is thought that the two of the best things you possibly can do to challenge your brain, especially as we grow older, are learning either a new musical instrument or a new language. So those are things to think in mind. And if you've been playing one all along, you've got a head start on this. If you've been playing, musicians who have been practicing and playing for 30 and 40 and 50 years, They got some good stuff going on in their brains that are protective. Spend time with family and friends, definitely. And again, remember in toxicity, I mentioned toxic relationships. So try to bend toward the ones that are supportive and nourishing for you. Managing stress, yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, spending time in nature, whatever that means for you, that feeling where you kind of get into what's called the zone, you kind of lose track of time. Get more than beyond the television, beyond TV, something where you're kind of a little more actively involved, but it's relaxing for you, and you can kind of really, you can feel your heartbeat slow down, you can feel your muscles relaxing. Get help for trauma. So again, I mentioned some of these before. Traumatic brain injury. There's a lot of help now for traumatic brain injury, believe it or not. Even if it happened a long time ago, there are nutritional supplements and programs. There are certain kinds of IV drips you can get. So if this is something that's in your past, you really want to start to dig into what you can do about this. PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder. And again, the emotional trauma, whether it's from early on in your life or when you were a young adult or beyond that. So really try to get help for those things. Protect your brain, just what it sounds like, especially in sports. Wear a helmet. Wear the protective gear. Think twice about engaging in some of these more riskier activities as you get older, if you want to protect your brain. And of course, don't wait if you sense a memory problem. Get on it, right away. That's going to be the most important thing. The more you can get in early, fix the nutrition, address the issues, the better off you're going to be.
Hey, how you all doing? Yeah, a little bit overwhelming, huh? It certainly can be. There's an awful lot of information there, and some of it you may think, oh yeah, I already know this. And yeah, you may already know it, but you may also already know it and maybe even know there's something you should do about it, but you haven't. So what I want to talk about right now is something that you can actually do to take all these things that Nancy and I have been talking about and put them into action in your life. And that is the Sharp Again, Stay Sharp coaching program. And I'm very pleased to say that this program, we're now well into our second year with it, and I'm one of the coaches in the program, and I am so excited to see how it's grown and what an incredible, how incredible it's been in helping people improve their general health and their brain health. And what this program is, as we see on the screen, it's actually 6 group coaching sessions. These sessions the groups are very small. We keep them at less than 8 people. Or 8 people or less, and it's always coached by 2 of our coaches. The program includes 2 one-on-one, so it's 6 group coaching sessions that happen 1 week apart. It's 2 one-on-one coaching sessions, which is an incredible bonus. One at the beginning of the program, so we can kind of see where you are and what kind of goals you have, and one at the end of the program to make sure that you are, that you're well grounded in what you've been doing. And that you have the tools to keep going. We provide you with all kinds of education and resources in this program. And we actually do have people who repeat the program, 2 or 3 times because it is a lot. And making lifestyle changes can be difficult. We have some great testimonials, everyone in the group, say, yeah, we all have different issues, but when you share and you learn and you support each other, you don't feel like you're alone in this process, and you feel like you have the tools and you have the support to move forward. One of the women in our program, she said, I remember her, I've been able to cut down on my snacking by 70%, and my energy levels have improved. She also was not in here. She started on her own exercise program, which she then got her family involved with, which was terrific because it gave them a way to all come together and exercise. When I focus on my memory, I notice positive changes. It keeps me centered and focused, and then a difference is being made. And part of it is because we encourage you to journal and keep track of your progress, because sometimes you don't realize today how much progress you've made because of something that you started to do 6 months ago. And that is an incredibly important thing to understand. So this program, I just want to be clear about this. When we were talking about the different stages of memory loss, the first stage is subjective cognitive impairment. When you are starting to notice that there's something maybe not quite right, that's who this program is for, because that's when you can really make a difference, and that's when we can make a difference for you. Okay, Sue, next slide. All right, so we are starting a new group program. It begins on February 22nd. And the registration is now open, and I have to say that the tuition for this is so incredibly reasonable due to a very generous grant we received to help subsidize these programs. It's really, very, very affordable, and we're very pleased to be able to offer it. Yeah, so it includes, I kind of already said this, but the program offers a unique opportunity for those looking to preserve their cognition, who are just beginning to notice lapses in memory. That's really when you want to get started with this. And really to take an active role in your own brain health. It's wonderful. It's fabulous to come to one of our webinars and to get all of this information. But being able to actually put it into action, like taking that step across the threshold, right? Yeah, I know this. Yeah, I know this. But. So it's having the courage and having the incentive and the hope to say, yes, I will take a step across this threshold, and I'm going to do something about this for myself. Yeah, in working. So this is, I've pretty much gone into this. We work with you to identify lifestyle factors that are important to you, that we call it perhaps the low-hanging fruit. Oh, and I wanted to say, in this program, what we cover is nutrition, exercise, stress, and sleep, because those are the 4 areas that you can actually go to work in on your own, without having to see a doctor, without having to have blood tests. And we do encourage you to do that anyway. But basically, if you know you eat too much sugar, then you know that that's something you need to work on. If you know that you have problems sleeping, you know that's something that you need to work on. You know that. That's your low-hanging fruit, and that's where we can help you. That's where we can support you in making these changes. Nancy.
Okay, so wrapping up what you can do now, I'm going to bring this all together for you guys. The first thing you can do is seek help early for best outcomes. I think we've been really clear about that. And that was why in that first slide, I said, subjective cognitive impairment, that's the time to get in there. When you can still do all this work yourself, and other people don't have to do this for you yet, hopefully never, right? Okay. And next, focus on the positive. As Myra was just saying, there's so much that you can do. There's so much hope. Every little bit of this really makes a big difference. Commit to making at least one positive change to bolster your own cognition. So hopefully you've gotten a few ideas from this today. Some are, as Myra says, the low-hanging fruit. I'm going to say there was even lower hanging fruit than what she said, because what she said still requires behavior change. I know that some people like hearing like, oh, I didn't know my nonstick pans could be toxic. That's really easy. I'll buy myself a cast iron skillet for, $22 on Amazon. I just did something and took a step. Join a Stay Sharp coaching program to maintain your brain health. I will say, or work with a health coach, somebody to help keep you educated, informed, and also to be your accountability partner or partners in this, because it's a journey. You're going up against a lot of toxicity in the toxic food environment and in the stressful lives that really most of us are engaged in, even if we don't realize it. So we're going to ask, or I'm going to ask, what is one thing you learned today that you will do for your brain? You can put that in the chat box. I think we're saying, or you can raise your hand or unmute yourself and let us know. And Joan, who's helping us out with the administration here, will, we've got a question right away. Myra, maybe you can take that one. And we'll be happy to talk through this and answer these questions with you and spend some more time with you.
So what is the tuition? Sorry.
I'm sorry, what's the tuition? Joan, Sue, I think it's $79.
It is $79.
For 6 weeks and 2 private coaching sessions, which is an incredible value. I'm just so in awe and so happy that we can offer that. Oh,
There
and
is a-
we're seeing here, someone says that the reminder to drink more water, says Terry. That's fabulous. Audrey says she's going to get a sleep study. That's amazing. And I see Elise says making lifestyle changes, address the low hanging fruit, right? The low hanging fruit. I mean, you know what you need to do. It's just, and coming to a webinar like this, it's just put it in the front of your mind. Yes, I need to do this. Ooh, Linda's going to give up sugar totally. That's fabulous.
So I see a question. You guys can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. Just are dentists normally skilled at removing the fillings, or are there specialists? That's an excellent question. There are what are called biological dentists who, can suit up in like hazmat suits, and there's a lot of special kinds of different kinds of pieces of equipment that you want to be using when you do this, so that you don't ingest more mercury and that they don't. So something called, there's a rubber dam. I just had this done in November. So I'm working on one quadrant of my mouth at a time, a rubber dam, so that only your teeth are kind of showing out of your mouth, so that no saliva and none of this toxic material can be inhaled or ingested back into your body. So there are specialists that do that. And I will say also that there are dentists who actually can do this. They have the material and they know what to do. So I would have a discussion with your dentist and ask very specific questions about things like I just said, like, will I have an alternative oxygen source? Will I have a dam in my mouth so it's guaranteed that I don't ingest any of this very toxic material? So that was an excellent question.
Yeah, and I would also like to suggest that there actually are not a lot of dentists who do this. And on the Sharp Again website, there's a list of resources of organizations that you can look at to find specialists. And I think one of them is, don't remember the name of the organization, but they list biologic dentists. So going onto the Sharp Again website and looking at that list could help you find someone in your area.
And do talk it over with your own dentist. My own dentist, I did it with my own dentist, and I feel very confident that it was a good situation. Andrea says, do more yoga. Love that, Andrea. And Stuart liked the water to weight ratio formula. And remember, Stuart, that's a rule of thumb. So if it's a very hot day or you are sweating a lot in exercise, you may need more.
So I think we can, the Sharp Again website address is sharpagain.org. www.sharpagain.org. And Joan, maybe you can put that in the chat box as well.
Just about to.
Okay, and actually, let's go ahead and advance to the next slide, because I think that we actually have it. Okay, so some next steps, Nancy.
Yeah, next steps. This person just led into this for us. Visit sharpagain.org.
Beautiful.
That was where you'll see much more information that we could deliver today. And you can see a little bit about us and who we are and what we do, what our upcoming programs are. We do all kinds of fun things. We're going to have a crossword small fundraiser, which is like an Instagram online thing in a couple of months. Sign up for our email list to get more and more of this kind of information. We do an email blast regularly, and I will say that they're great. We get great feedback on them all the time. Little bites of information that you can really use. Join or refer somebody to our programs. This is our email address. You can get in touch with Myra and I as well. Sharp Again Naturally, support us, please, because this is a nonprofit organization. And as Myra mentioned, we, through the reason that price is so great on the group program is because we do have donors who are specifically underwriting this particular program because they believe in it so much.
And I see that Dean asked a question. I see there's a subsequent advanced coaching program. How often does this program run? So that's a great question, Dean. A lot of people, and I think that there are actually a couple of people on the webinar today, have done, have done the foundational program and repeated it a couple of times. And we created the advanced program because we saw that there was a need for people who had already done the foundational program to be able to take a deeper dive into, either because they wanted to more support or different kind of support in the goals that they're trying to reach, or to take more of a deeper dive conversational thing into information with other people who've already done the foundation work. And in terms of how often does that run, that runs basically, we've just started doing it. We just finished the last session, I think, back in November. Now we're starting up again in February. And the idea is that we will run that sequentially with the foundation program. So that's basically, about 4 times a year, to give people to go through the foundation program, decide if they want to repeat that again or if they're ready to move on. Elise, no, we don't certify health coaches. We don't have a certification program. Nancy, I don't know if you have anything more you want to say about that.
No, at the moment, no. At the moment, we're just trying to serve everybody who is experiencing some brain difficulty. We're not at that stage yet.
Well, we're not at that stage yet.
It could come in the future.
Absolutely. And I don't know, we will be starting a health coach directory. This is one of the projects for this year. So if you are a health coach and you're interested in possibly being part of that directory, I don't want to speak out of turn because this is a very new thing. But I think, Joan, what email address could someone email if they were interested in the directory?
info@sharpagain.org.
Yeah, and that's going to be a professional directory. So we'll include
Yes.
health coaches along with every other kind of professional who we think can be helpful to you in your cognitive health journey. So functional medicine doctors, neurologists, and every kind of thing, the biological dentists that we just spoke about, and anyone else that could be helpful to people who are looking to protect their cognitive health for the next 50 years.
Hey, Sue, you want to go to the next slide?
I think it's the Q&A.
Sorry, I just wanted
Q&A.
to add one more thing really quickly. One thing that we don't have on this next steps is we do post regularly on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram in particular. Please follow us. There are some great tips that come up every couple of days about specific things, either around nutrition or, around a specific type of nutrition, like, International Nut Day and why nuts are important. And there's some fun facts. So follow us, little tidbits that will help you make those demonstrable differences that Nancy and Myra spoke about.
All right. Does anybody have any questions about any of the material that we presented today, or the programs? We have a number of programs coming up, the foundational program, the advanced program, as well as we have a free 20-minute meditation group that's starting the beginning of February. And we also have I believe, a nutrition program, specific nutrition program in April, currently on our first quarter agenda.
And Myra and I are available for any other questions that you have that come up.
Yes, absolutely.
We do have another question. Is there data on alcohol and memory loss?
Yes, alcohol abuse is definitely a cause of memory loss. And if it is the only thing that is causing the memory loss, then there is data that shows that once someone, starts not using alcohol, that the memory issues will go away.
And I just want to add that alcohol, I always say, is another word for sugar. So if you're looking to avoid, cut down, etc., sugar, alcohol would be something you'd want to include in that formula as you're thinking about that.
Yes.
Also, if you go onto our website, we have news and resources, a section dedicated to news and resources on our website. You can enter alcohol as a search term if you're interested in reading some of the research articles that we have listed. And I do see a question about the events calendar. We have a very robust website that is easily searchable. We have all of our upcoming events listed. There are very simple to find sections on getting help, understanding what webinars and programs we have going on, and also links to the external sites that Myra mentioned to locate dentists and other professionals while we are building our professional referral directory, which will hopefully be up and running by the end of this year.
I see just a couple more questions. And someone asked, do you focus on nutrition more specifically? It says about processed foods. I think they mean then about processed food in the coaching program. So yes, that's a thing that nutrition is an area that can be, delved into on a very, very deep level. So there's general ideas about nutrition that we talk about. An example was talking about processed foods, but we go deeper than that. An example would be, emphasizing omega-3 fats in what we call the smash fish. That's salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring, for example. So there would be that kind of specific information. But then there's also specific information that's specific to an individual. And that may be better worked out in a one-on-one kind of situation and along with your doctor who can do nutritional kinds of evaluations through testing. So that I just wanted to answer that question. I also wanted to say about, about information and data. This is a learning experience today, obviously, but so much of what we do and what makes these programs successful, and working with people who are supportive and know this stuff is the actual relationship that's formed either with in the group program, with the health coach, if you're working with a health coach in the group program, or as an individual. It's somebody being accountable to somebody who really knows you and can work and can really delve in with you on a deeper level. It's a support thing. It's a support relational kind of a thing that is what is so helpful.
Yeah.
I want to emphasize that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that yes, as Nancy was saying, information is great. Information is fabulous, but a lot of people confuse information with actually being able to use the information. So for instance, in the small group program, nutrition is probably, it's always our number one, it's the number one thing that we focus on, because everyone can do something about their nutrition. And as I said earlier, generally speaking, everyone knows what that thing is. So for instance, we had someone in a program who she spent the entire program focused on hydration and how she was going to get more water into her diet, if you will. And, and someone said, well, that's not going to make any difference. What difference does it make to just, do water? Don't you need to do more? Well, yes, but focusing on her hydration made an incredible difference to her. She had more energy, she slept better. So that one small change that she said, I'm going to take this and run with it, got her feeling better to the point where, so that then she could focus on some other things that were a little more challenging to her. So that's the kind of work that we do in these programs, both in the small group program, and also if you choose to work with an individual coach.
That's when the magic happens.
Yeah, that's when the magic happens indeed. Okay, anybody else have any questions? You can also raise your hand if you like.
Well,
I think maybe we're done.
I think we are. I think we had a great group today.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined us. We'll keep you posted on the next batch of upcoming webinars. We have several planned out over the next 4 months, beginning in February. And we'll also keep you posted on our coaching groups. Later today, I'll be downloading this recording and uploading it to our YouTube channel. I'll send an email out with that link, along with links to our coaching programs, our free mindfulness program, and our website, so you can stay abreast of what we're doing. I'll include our Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn pages as well.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add one quick thing. We do a monthly e-blast, which was mentioned. This month's e-blast is on something called Beginner's Mind. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to leave you with that thought.
It's important.
It's very important. Keep an eye out for it. It will be sent to you later this week. And if you've got questions about it, email us. We're happy to talk about it.
And also, I just wanted to see, I see Gloria posted a question, how often is the coaching program done during the year? I think we have think we have 4 scheduled this year of
We
the
do?
foundational. Yeah, excuse me.
We do.
Yeah, I think we have 4 scheduled this year of the foundational program. And then we also have, as I said, in April, we're doing a program focused solely on nutrition. And we may do 1 or 2 other, focused programs like that throughout the year. We're not sure yet. We're still in the discovery stage when it comes to, how many programs we can handle throughout the year. So. And Mary Lou wants to know how she registers.
Will you register through the website? And I'll get that link out for the program that's starting up in February. And just keep an eye on our website and keep an eye out for our emails. We will always let you know when we have a new program, when it's open for registration.
Yeah, Joan, can you like if you go to the website, and you click on the tab, what's that tab called?
Get support
Get support, and you'll see a drop down, right?
for the Stay Sharp coaching programs. There's a drop down for Stay Sharp webinars.
Yeah, so you click on the coaching programs and you can register there.
Yep. I have to say, I think our website is one of the more easier to navigate that I've come across.
Yeah.
Agreed. The website is easy to use and I think fun and has great information and resources.
Great information. Yeah.
It's getting better all the time from like when we have this professional directory upcoming in the next few months. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Myra. Wonderful.
Thank you,
presentation.
everybody.
Thank you everybody for being here. It was a great group today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful
you.
day and a happy new year.
Thank you. I'm going to stop recording.
Okay.